Today, while telling you some of its history, I'll also show you some of the historic town of Shasta. While many of us have visited in the past, it likely hasn't been recently. Coming to a place like this is extra enjoyable when you consider how rare it is that such a collection of preserved historic artifacts still exists. So I encourage you to return here and refresh your understanding of just how important Shasta was in the early years of the gold rush. The second gold strike in California in 1848, after Sutter's original strike near Coloma, began the influx of people to this part of Northern California and served as the impetus of the forming of the town of Shasta. Before it could even really be called a town, this was referred to as Redding Springs, named after Pearson B. Redding, who made the gold strike on nearby Clear Creek, and for the numerous aquifers that produced water in the area. As more people arrived and a settlement began to take hold in these foothills, the community leaders chose to name the boom town Shasta after Mount Shasta. Shasta's location proved to be advantageous to the people who arrived, with the intent of not actually seeking gold themselves, but of supporting mining activities with food, equipment, and other services. Mining communities sprang up and began to dot the landscape in an uneven 1/2 to 3/4 circle from points to the south along Clear Creek, around to the west and north, into the Trinity Mountains, and further to the north and east around Mount Shasta and beyond. The town of Shasta became a hub from which trails reached out to the mining sites founded along and at the end of these routes. Businessmen in Shasta received and then resold critical supplies and materials. Freighters hauled the goods using mules on the rudimentary trails. As the use of these routes increased and commercial endeavors matured, the trails evolved into roads used by wagons and eventually stagecoaches. Miners also came in large numbers to this center of activity to sell their gold, resupply themselves, avail themselves of the comforts civilization had to offer, and to just take a break from the arduous labor of working a mining claim. At this time within Shasta, one could find hotels, mercantile stores, drugstores, livery stables, bakeries, and other attractions. Shasta's decline quietly began after 1860, when the dwindling population of miners meant less profit. Shasta may have been able to survive this trend, but the straw that broke the camel's back and ensured the end of Shasta's reign as the region's economic hub occurred in 1872. This is when officials of the Southern Pacific Railroad chose to run the railroad from Sacramento through Poverty Flats instead of Shasta. With the railroad becoming the major means of moving goods and people quickly and in large numbers, it acted like a magnet, drawing business away from Shasta and to what became the town of Redding. People followed, and the former boomtown of Shasta never recovered. What most people now call Old Shasta is a gem that deserves to be enjoyed. Regardless if you've been here before, we encourage you to come, see the history preserved in the buildings still being used today, as well as the ruins that watch silently as people come and go or pass by on their way to Redding to the east, or Whiskeytown Lake, Weaverville, or the Pacific Coast in the west. So come visit one of these few places still today where so much history exists, can be enjoyed, and doesn't require you to almost exclusively imagine what it must have looked like or been like.